Hi there, back at the engine. Next plan is to try and start taking the head off. I thought I'd start with taking the little valve caps off, so basically they let you see what's happening with the valve, etc. These are a 23mm nut bolt thing. I have a 22, which is too small, and I have a 24, which is too big. So I had to go down to the shop and buy a 23, which is just right. I had a go at it with the shifting spanner, which was a bit of a disaster. I ended up chipping the corner of it off because these things are horrible. I even grabbed my Stilsons out to have a go at that, but that was a bit aggressive. So I'm going to try 23, the breaker bar, because they're on pretty tight. Let's give that a bit of a... This is the exhaust one. Oh, look at that. Looks all good. Try the other side. You might notice try a little bit of black hand. Apparently black face is no longer culturally appropriate, but black hand apparently is still alright. Okay, so I've made a bit of progress over the last day or so. So I managed to get the little cam actuator thing out of here. It just presses in, maybe like that. That's a little cam that spins around. That's what actually opens and closes the points to create the electrical contact in terms of the sparking and that kind of stuff. So that just pops out of there like that. So flywheel cover taken off. So there's the magneto. So that's what actually generates the electricity. So flywheel in the middle. So that spins around. You can see those little dots, so they're actually magnets. I don't know if you can see that screwdriver sticking to those there. So if I just that's actually just hanging there with the magnet. So you basically got little coils of copper wire here, so insulated copper wire. As the magnet spins around, or as the magnet goes past the coil, generates an electrical current, the magic of physics. Next step, I'm going to take this cover off here. That's where the high-low ratio is, and then we can actually pull this cover off here. That'll get us into the gearbox. My next step though is to try and take this cover off here. It looks like it's fairly well stuck on, but try and get that cover off. I just realised I've actually loosened the cylinder head off, but you can see it moving there, but it won't actually come off because I realised there's actually a timing chain that runs down to the camshaft here, up through here. I think that's the like a little tensioner bolt. There's a little wheel on there that actually holds the cam chain under tension, and then there's a bit of cam chain that will actually loop around and gear up here. So I've got to pop this cover off and get the cam chain off, so then I can pull the head off, have a look at the piston rings, see what they're like. And at the same time I'll get into the guts of it down here and see what it looks like. I'm having some difficulty with this. I think as it's been sitting out in the weather, obviously with the rims are completely rusted through, so that suggests it's been sitting out in some water or out in the weather for a large number of years for a rim to completely rust through like that. It looks like someone else had a go at opening this up. I'm not sure successfully or not, but if you look at these screws, you can see they're pretty well mangled. There's actually not much there to grab hold of, and even inside, where are we? So it looks like maybe someone's had a go at trying to have a go at them. They look pretty rough. So that's going to be, where are we? There we go. Have some difficulty, I think, getting those off. I sprayed it all with WD-40 last night, so I'll see if that sort of worked its way in and hopefully soften things up a little bit. Might better snap them out. I think the reality is I might need to try and replace some of these screws. I think by the time I'm finished with them, I think they're going to be probably not very serviceable. I've actually got a bit of footage I might play now that actually shows me yesterday trying to get some of these screws out in some fairly unorthodox methods. I'm sure the purist will be horrified at some of the techniques I've used to get these screws out, although it ended up being effective, although having said that I tend to have pretty much destroyed the screws in the process, which is not the idea of mechanicking. Okay, I'll leave that for now, and we'll come back and we'll see if we can get a few more of these covers and screws and things off. No. That one. The idea is the hammer breaks the seal or gives it, yeah. Not working. Okay. My next trick, which is the Magic Stilson's on screwdriver trick, again not recommended. Okay, try and wedge that up against the wall. See what that does. Just adjust your angle so you can still see. I'll just zoom in a little bit on that. Try that. Crack. Crack. Last one. Crack. Oh, look at that, beautiful. Just like one you'd buy from a shop. We'll cover this. There's the back end of the camshaft. Those little pins hold the rockers in their place, so they're what actually go up and down and push the valves up and down. So those pins actually hold them in place. If I can pull them out, make life easy for me. So while I'm doing this, yesterday I shot a video I was actually just cleaning some gunge off the engine and basically shot a video and spoke in a fair degree of depth, I guess, and a fair degree of honesty about what's been happening with me the last few weeks and months. At this stage, I'm probably not going to publish that through YouTube in a public forum like that. I think it's probably a little bit too raw at this stage for it to be for everyone to see, but I will probably send it perhaps to a few select people just to who I trust and who I know very well, so they can maybe have a look at it, and that might help them understand what's going on. So just, yeah, shorter one there, longer one there. But part of, I guess the simple story is that the doctor says I'm suffering from burnout as a result of a few factors through work, etc. My own fault, I guess, to some degree. So part of the, I guess, the symptoms of that is my levels of tolerance are almost non-existent. So any little thing really frustrates me. And I was talking to Tracy last night about words like frustration, and frustration really just means a milder form of anger. So basically, my anger is really just bubbling under the surface, and lots of little things that normally wouldn't bother you or bother you but don't send you off, kind of thing. At the moment, those little things are kind of triggering my anger, and I call it frustration, but yeah, it really is, I guess, a mild form of anger. So even last night, trying to get these bolts off, or nuts off, and having some screws, sorry, and having some issues with doing that, I just got really frustrated, got really disheartened, just wanted to walk away and think I've had enough of this. Whereas normally I would have just persevered, or, you know, part of working on an old engine is things are going to be difficult. You expect that, and you know that walking into it. And again, I sort of woke up this morning and just was a bit annoyed with myself for being that, but I guess I've got to allow that. I've got to allow myself to be frustrated and accept that, and perhaps I should have walked away earlier yesterday when I realised that was happening, and come back today afresh. So again, I come back in today and I've had a bit of a bash at these nuts and they've come out without any problems. Having said that, I'm probably going to have to throw them away, but at least they're out. So it's just interesting how the body responds. Good night's sleep. I went out for a motorbike ride this morning with a friend. You come back and you feel sort of okay about stuff again. Okay, so here's our camshaft. I'm going to try and pull that out. At the moment it's kind of jammed in there, so I'm going to try and push down the valve, and that loosens it up a bit. Let's see if I can rotate it out. No, I'll try the other side. I'll try the exhaust. So one camshaft, so being a single cylinder, obviously there's only two cams, I guess you call them, one for the exhaust, one for the intake. So it's hollow, so that I think gets the oil through. I think these holes are where the oil can come out, keeps that lubricated. You notice a little spiral here, so as it rotates around it actually pushes the oil back in. And there's one on this side as well that does the opposite, so it actually pushes the oil, as it spins around, pushes the oil back onto the shaft. So that's a pretty cool little piece of engineering. So here's see the cam chain there, so that's now dropped down. So theoretically we should be able to slide our cylinder head off so one cylinder head actually looks a bit rusty, so there's been a bit of water in there perhaps at some point, but both the valves are moving freely, which is alright. So I might actually pop the valves out and just clean the seat out of them so that they sit alright, but that looks alright. Like I say, I think there's been a bit of water in there at some point. Dogs next door going off, so a little someone there. Should be a head gasket there somewhere, but I'm not seeing one. There's our piston. Again, it seems to be moving freely. So we should also be able to pull. This bottom section should also pull off. Rotate the engine a bit. So there's the piston up and down, moving freely. It's actually not too bad. Gauge there. So whether they just ran it without a head gasket, that's just bizarre. So you can see one of the head bolts, which I think is that one there, is actually bigger than the other ones. The oil, that's with the oil. Actually, the oil feed will come up through here into the top of the engine. So we should be able to knock this piece off here, I think. Okay, with a bit of judicious bashing, I've managed to get the cylinder off. Tight. There we have it. One cylinder. You can see, I'm not sure if you can see that there, but proud lettering there, 89cc. Very impressive. So if you look down there, it actually doesn't look too bad, not too scored. Nice and smooth. I can't feel any lip there where it's come up. So that actually looks in pretty good nick. Piston, again a little wavy thing, just the rings, again they look alright. I think that's just a little clean up and we're good to go. Okay, news flash, I was just talking about there being no head gasket, so here's the cylinder head. I was looking for a gasket around here somewhere, and here's the actual piston, and again I was looking for a gasket that would fit around there. I went and did some research, and lo and behold, this little thing here, which I had a little poke at, turns out to be the head gasket. So that little round, it's almost like a coppery kind of thing. I guess the idea is it's compressed as it's done up. So there's the head gasket. So it does have a head gasket. Like I say, I was looking for something that actually fitted around the outside. That's what I was sort of used to seeing. Also on the cylinder, you can see there's a little raised bit there that would actually compress into the gasket when you tighten it up. I'm going to get a new gasket. I looked online, I can get a kit, so a gasket kit for the entire engine, so all the seals, O-rings, gaskets around all the covers and everything, for around about $50 delivered. So that's, rather than trying to make my own, it's worth just buying that, particularly with the head gasket. You don't really want to be mucking around with that, trying to reuse an old one. So I thought I'd just show you my little workshop helper. Here's Molly, the Labrador. So she's just outside the shed and just watched me what's happening. At the moment, my shed needs a bit of tidy up. I've just chucked everything everywhere and just kind of gone, grab something out and just chuck it on the bench. So I'm going to have a bit of a tidy up and put it back into order. And maybe go have a shower because I smell. But the dog's happy enough, so that's all that matters, I guess.